Okay, here we go. See, this is my first video on doing brakes. Uh, just want to note that you should use a jack stand. What you want to do is just jack it up enough just to get the lug nuts off, not off the ground. You want to jack it all the way up off of the ground with a jack stand underneath. It's always good to use a jack stand for safety, just in case your jack fails. It's always a good thing to have. So then what you want to do is take yourself a rubber mallet, get behind the tire, and hit it as hard as you can on the edge of the rim. Try not to hit the tire itself because you can damage your tire and wind up with leaks. Then here's your rotor. What you want to do is remove the two bolts with a 15mm deep well. There's the first bolt. Second bolt's on the bottom. These are what you'll have left afterwards. Get yourself a good chain or a heavy wire to hang your caliper with. You just hook it into your spring there, and you can just hang your caliper up out of the way. And what you want to do is get yourself a big C-clamp and leave the brake pad in, only the one that's on the cylinder side. And this is what it'll usually look like before you compress it. And after, you always want to use the brake pad because in some vehicles, if you compress the cylinder too far, if you don't have a brake pad in there, you can ruin them sometimes. It's always a good idea to leave that pad in there. Next step, what you're going to want to do after you're done compressing it, you take it the C-clamp off, is pull out the wear sensor. And if your caliper comes back out when you take your C-clamp off, you may need a new caliper. If the piston comes back out or it's leaking a lot of fluid, you will want to replace that and put your new pads in. You might want to use a screwdriver to help push those back in because the clips are very sharp. You gotta watch your fingers on them. Try not to get any oil on your pads or dirt. Keep the pads, try to keep them clean. And do the same to get your rotor off. You want to use a rubber mallet and hit it from behind. Try to give it a good whack from behind. It'll usually come off pretty quick. It's the easiest way I've found is to hit it from the back side. And there you go after it's off. And here's your rotor. Now what you want to do when you get your rotor off is scrape all the loose rust off, just to speed up the cleaning process. It's easier just to scrape off any loose stuff with a screwdriver. Then what you're going to want to do is get yourself a angle grinder, and you're going to want to grind the outside edge and the inside edge just to bring it below the flat surface. what you're doing is getting rid of the old metal that was there from the wear. And then what you want to do is take a flat buffer sander, maybe 100 grit sandpaper or 120, and sand it flat. Get rid of all the grooves. Sand the top to clean it up. This way, especially if you have aluminum rims, it's a very good idea to sand the surface for the lugs, because if your rim doesn't sit flat, you'll get an imbalance on your tires sometimes and it'll ride a little rough. Okay, now you're back. What you want to do is remove that sensor, wear sensor there, and pull it out. If it's bad, you might want to just get a new one and replace it, the harness piece. If it's worn through the wires, then you take that bolt off there and you lift it, take your pads out, then disconnect the speed sensor. Get yourself a 15mm deep well for the top bolt, and I think it's a 15 for the bottom, but it's a shallow well socket. Then just leave everything hang and do the same with that. Do the outer edge, inner edge, and sand it flat. Now, with these, if you've never done all-wheel disc brakes, they're a little different. What you need to do is screw this piston in clockwise. If you have a hard time breaking it, a pipe wrench works good just to loosen it, and then you can use a pair of needle nose or pliers to fit in the grooves. And there you go. I hope you like it, and everything else is the reverse, putting it back together.